Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Clark Pena, your host for Your Advocates Corner. Today we have a special program. Obviously, we're not at the studio because of the pandemic, but by the grace of God and by our friends at BronxNet, we're able to get the message out to you today. And there's no better way to get the message out than to get some feedback from the person that has been on the front line, not only instructionally, but he was in the field as we continue to battle COVID-19. We have here today joining us the president of the Global Alliance Hispanic Law Enforcement Professionals, who happens to be an NYPD sergeant, one of the best in business, Sergeant Sgt Nunez. How are you, sir?
Clark, thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Let us begin, Sarge, by stating the obvious. You are here to speak your experiences, but as the president of the Global Alliance Hispanic Law Enforcement Professionals, you're not here to speak on behalf of the NYPD.
That is correct, and I thank you for that disclaimer.
Thank you so much, sir. Sarge, you teach at the academy, and you've done a lot of stuff in the field as well on your own time. Something that I really enjoyed, the course that you taught that I think is very timely, patrolling legally. Patrolling legally. Tell us about, and this is where you go into the community on your own time, and you teach this course.
Yes,
please tell us.
I love doing it. As a former law instructor, I love law, and I think this is one of the things that I feel bridges that information gap that exists between the community and law enforcement. And oftentimes it is the lack of knowledge, the not knowing how officers patrol, what legal parameters they have, and when you go out into the community and you present. You make the community members put them in the shoes of the police officer, and as I often say, that it's all about perspectives. So that's why I call it patrol perspectives or patrolling legally, because believe it or not, I mean, a lot of people they learn a lot and they walk away with a different perspective and appreciation for what the officers do once they know that officers have certain legal standards that they must follow. In order to engage a citizen on the street, and depending on that level, or what we call level of suspicion, it will grant them some legal powers, what to do and what not to do, and not only would the emphasis is on the rights of citizens, but also the powers of the police, the legal power, and the idea is to bridge them. And then when we do the role plays, where the community, not only is it fun where they get to play the role of police officer, but they realize that it's not as easy as it may seem to be, and then we get into social media, the videos, depends on the angle. So, and that's the idea, to have that authentic dialogue, so that the police and community can come together, so we both understand what each of the roles are.
Like I said before, I've been in three of the courses. I've seen it, and it's always spectacular when the civilians and you put them in the role of police officers. Give us a little bit. We should have done this a little bit before, but I want to make sure you get it in. Tell us about your educational background. You're a very educated person.
Well, thanks. Well, actually, I'm actually a math teacher. I am an adjunct professor as well. But I joined the police department, and one of the ideas that when I wanted to become a teacher, I had the idea that I could make an influence in young kids, because it is by nature I love to help people, to counsel. And when I took the police test just as an experiment, but then I got called and I said, what should I do? And I said, well, you know what? I went back and finished the teaching. I'm a certified math teacher. But then I joined the academy. It was like an experiment. So went through, I joined, got promoted. But then I realized, wow, this gives me the opportunity. And part of the reason I founded the organization, the Global Alliance, was the many instances that I would get a mother when I was on patrol coming up to me saying, listen, I need some advice. I have a 15-year-old and she's cutting school and this is what she's not listening. Or I have a boy that doesn't want to work. So I realized that, wow, as a teacher, I have them in the classroom, and now as a police officer, I can impact on the street, and any chance I get, talk to young people, and again, serving as a mentor, and that's what I enjoy, just giving good advice, getting that thank you to someone, thank you. And oftentimes it's listening to people. I think listening is key, and I get calls all the time, and it, which is why I think that just both teaching and being a police officer, and the fact that I went to the academy, so I'm still teaching, but it is a very noble profession. I think it's very fulfilling. You know, it's not just about the, you know, it's good package, good money, but it's beyond that. It's the calling.
Absolutely. You build bridges. That's what the Global Alliance, from what I understand, it's all about. Hashtag building bridges. I see it all over the place. Are you having any problems on, you know, when you're building a bridge, you have to come together in the center. Have you, in your professional experience, have you come to any type of headway where people don't want to meet? Is there, you know, what's going on in people's minds right now, especially with the pandemic going on? There's a lot of issues going on because of that.
And that is true. And what happens, Clark, is that, you know, even on patrol, you see these scenes, and sometimes people are agitated, the emotions are high. And one of the things that we teach the new supervisors and at the academy is de-escalation training. You know,
Beautiful.
You have to, you know, the hostage negotiator, what do they have that's different than the regular cop? Nothing. They just better listeners. A hostage negotiator is just, and listen to people, listen, you know, be empathetic. You know, don't jump to conclusion. And often when the emotions are high, you cannot communicate with people. And so we teach officers to be proactive, to take that pause, not to react, to be proactive, not react on emotion, and just listening to people and lowering the emotions. That helps the communication, because if the emotion, there's a pendulum. If the emotion is high, there's no way that you're going to get through and communicate effectively. And you have to lessen the emotion, listen to people, ask questions. Okay, what are you feeling now? And that's not an easy thing. Communication is not an easy thing. It involves active listening. And I think that, you know, that really, really helps a police officer to be more effective on patrol, and then, you know, have knowledge. But the key, I think, to communication is communicating effectively, and
Right.
communicating to, because oftentimes these young kids, they're agitated, they don't know the law, so they look at you. It's not against the person behind the uniform, but it's really like, it seems to be like an anti-police, anti-uniform, anti-establishment sentiment out there, and your job as a police officer is to communicate to you, look, I'm doing my job. It is not impersonal against you, but this is why I'm stopping. This is, you know, explaining, and often that doesn't happen. You know, the street, of course, everything is agitated, everything is quick, but I always find it, I take my time to explain to people, because that's when people appreciate that. You know, so and oftentimes maybe the officer doesn't have the time, they're scared, they're agitated themselves. But I have found in my experience that, you know, explain to people, and that's how you bridge that gap, where now I'm communicating to you, sir, you know, I put the option on you. You decide how this is going to go. So, and that's the de-escalation.
Do you believe, Sergeant, and does that have anything to do with mediation, verbal judo, and all that other good stuff?
I love yes, I truly believe verbal judo. Now
verbal judo is excellent.
Yeah. Yes, it is. You know, actually, you know, some people are better than others, but it could be learned. It could be learned.
Absolutely. Do you believe, Sergeant, as you train people, the officers are well trained? Do you believe that this training can also go into the civilian community? So, you know, like perception, you know, when you teach perception to civilians, and I was in one of those classes, a gentleman, you know, came in with his mind made up. And you remember, you spoke to him, you and Detective, your Vice President, Detective.
That is the matter. Remember that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you spoke to him, and he left that session with a different idea. And it was that you took the time, and Detective Salvador, to explain, and he got it. He got it. Do you think that's something that you guys should do a lot more? To teach the civilian community?
Yeah, sure. And that's why organizations such as, you know, nonprofit, we complement the what the police department is doing. They're reaching out to the community, but oftentimes, like I said, you know, some people come in with a preconceived notion and just
absolutely
uniform, and I think it makes a difference whether the police officers that are community affairs do a great job. But when you have officers that volunteering their time, they're not getting paid. I think maybe that helps. That helps, you know, maybe lower down the emotional side, where, you know, that I'm there as a volunteer trying to engage the community, have that dialogue, be objective, you know. where I'm going to tell you, educate you on your rights as a citizen, rights, but at the same time, hey, you also as a citizen have a certain responsibilities, and then when you frame it like that, and that's the idea. As you remember, the guy said, "Look, I'm actually a Black Lives Matter," and we ended up embracing and giving each other.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was great because now he's left that place with a different perspective. Maybe he didn't see it the way I was telling it to him. So,
absolutely. How long have you spent in the academy? Teaching?
Well, I've been, as I said, I started as a law instructor back after 9/11 in 2002. So I taught maybe 6 or 7 classes. Then in 2005, I took the promotional test and I got promoted, and I went over to the Bronx, South Bronx, the 4-2 precinct. That was a learning experience for me because I was originally, when I started back in the late 90s, I was in transit. And believe it or not, I think that transit actually, the culture of transit is a little more mellow. So I think that kind of helped because I remember back then, you were a transit officer, you were working a lot of times by yourself. Picture your platform at 1:30 in the morning. You better be able to de-escalate things because you're by yourself. So I think that kind of helps. It forces you to be proactive, not so much reactive. So then again, I got promoted, went to the 4-2 precinct, and I returned to the academy. I wanted to teach recruits again, but it turned out to be better because I joined the executive development unit, and that is the unit that is tasked with training the department executives in the rank.
The leadership.
The leadership, yes.
The leadership, right? Wow.
Captains and above, and again, part of the a lot of the seminars and ideas that I incorporate and bring to the community is because stuff that I saw there. We have great speakers from all walks of life, and that has complemented the curriculum that I'm able to provide to communities.
Wow. And you're currently teaching at the academy, but because of this pandemic, you were reassigned to the field.
Like I said, this is a big pandemic, but I'm having, when I said originally, I was telling you that I'm having a lot of fun, is because I'm out in the street again.
Absolutely.
I haven't been out in the streets for so long, so I'm putting into practice, even fellow cops, and so far it's going great.
Absolutely.
In the middle of this pandemic, like you say, but I'm always the optimistic guy, and we're everybody's in conversation. When is this going to be over? When is this going to be over? Because forcing social distancing, Clark. I mean, is that the job?
I know. Listen, and we're going to go to a short break.
Yeah.
I want to touch up on that because now you're from the leadership, the academy, teaching leadership, to now with a whole bunch of different officers, and I heard great things. Everyone wanted to work for you, but we're gonna come back. I want to talk about your time in the field after this short break.
Great.
Thanks, Sarge.
Hola, Julia. ¿Estás lista para tocar con nosotros? Yo tocaré mi clarinete.
Y Alma tocará su tambor.
Tambor ruidoso.
Bueno, ya sabes qué hacer, Julia.
Julia sabe.
Dado el autismo de Julia, los sonidos pueden ser muy fuertes.
Y hace música a su manera.
¡A tocar!
La detección temprana del autismo puede hacer una diferencia de por vida. Conoce más sobre la detección temprana en detecciondeautismo.org.
Luchemos para desacelerar la propagación del coronavirus. Siga las instrucciones de las autoridades locales. Quédese en casa a menos que salir sea necesario. Use servicios de entrega para artículos esenciales, alimentos y medicinas. En viajes esenciales, esté a 6 pies de distancia de los demás. Use la cubierta facial. Lávese las manos por 20 segundos. Visite cdc.gov/español.
Welcome back to the Advocates Corner. Once again, we're not at the studio. We're thanks to Bronx Center putting us on the air through these means. Outstanding PSAs. And let's go back to our guest, Sgt Nunez, the president of the Global Alliance Hispanic Law Enforcement Professionals, NYPD Sergeant, 23 years on the job, talks about retiring. Unacceptable. We're not going to let you go. The city's not going to let you go. We're going to make sure of that, Sarge.
Yes, Clark. I'm still here.
You're still here. I'm sorry, Sarge. So many years on the job, 23 years. You're teaching leadership in the academy. COVID-19. reassignments. Everyone had to go to the field. You know, a lot of people were sick in your department. First responders all over, EMS, everybody. It was really bad. So you get the word, Sarge, and I saw you in uniform. You look sharp in uniform. You have that military look. So, what happened? They said, you know, Sgt Nunez, you're going to the field. What was your response after getting up from the floor?
Well, the question was they kind of gave us a choice. You know, who wants days, who want nights? Obviously, 23 years on the job, I figure, you know, let me work nights because there's something called night differential. So you spoke about retirement. Hey, you never know because, you know.
And the mathematician in you.
Yeah, so originally the plan was to do 12-hour tours, 6 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon to 6 in the morning. I chose the afternoon. It turned out to be more kind of like an adjusted tour. So I start like around 5:30, 17:30 until 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm loving the schedule. Again, the overnight diff and, you know, and I'm having, when I say I'm having fun because, again, I'm in the streets and you know, haven't been in the street for long. I'm in Brooklyn North. I really know Brooklyn. I like the palm of my hand. So in that sense, you know, I'm enjoying whatever they throw at us and, you know, being in uniform again. And, you know, the other day we were doing as you heard, the transit shutdown for the cleaning. Correct. So I volunteer. There was some overtime involved. So that was an added thing. So we did the two nights and went to Coney Island. You know, I don't know who was responsible for a picture, but, you know, we actually went to the boardwalk, which is great. You know, working nights and seeing the sun set and then the sun.
It was a beautiful picture, yeah.
It was a beautiful picture. And I told some of the guys, listen, let's caravan back, meet me at 5:30. And it was great. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not the type to always take pictures. I'm like 23 years on the job. If I leave, you know, maybe little memories that I may share later. So
absolutely. So
in that sense, I'm having fun. But at the same time, we're all wondering when is this going to be over, you know, just as a country, as a city. And as you know, I'm sure you're going to touch probably on the, you know, social distancing enforcement. So, and that's the reason we're there, the task force, is pretty much to answer the 311 jobs that come, complaints. You know, we go to supermarkets, ensuring that there's a line, that people have the proper mask on, they're maintaining 6 feet apart. Parks, as you know, the parks, you know, they're open, but, you know, no organized sports. But then that's what the question becomes, because what we're afraid is, and we actually saw a couple of beautiful days last week, and we see the correlation once the weather starts getting better and warmer, people want to go out to the parks and the streets. And then the issue may be later, well, what's going to happen if more people are like defying, and then you have officers responding, and how's that interaction is going to go? Because, you know, do we want officers engaging, summoning people for not keeping a mask on, for not maintaining social distance, which again, we're following the directives of the executive order. But, you know, you're more a politician than myself. So it remains to be seen how that's going to translate in practice. So in the meantime, we'll be out here until, you know, we go back to where we work.
Is it and I've seen the people in the SBA discuss it. Is it for clarification purposes, is it a violation of the law to not follow some of this social distancing rules?
Well, that's what the executive order says. The problem is, Clark, that it's not clear. It's very vague. And when you have a vague policy, and I'll give you, for instance, I mean, you know, jaywalking is illegal. But in practice, how much is it enforced? It's not really viable. Imagine if we go out there to enforce jaywalking. Well, you may have 50 people crossing the street, and okay, so then if I stop you and give you a summons, and what are you going to say? Well, how about those people? So
how about those
folks? All those things that I think needs more clarification. And, you know, the executive order just says, listen, you are open yourself up to a summons from the police department if you don't have a mask on, if you don't social distance. But the application, I think that's where the issue, and the confrontation that you've probably seen already, you know, officers trying to engage someone, you know, and then that endangers both the person and the officers themselves, because, you know, how about their safety? As you know, we have, I think, 31 deaths already. And we, you know, department personnel, not only law enforcement, but traffic safety agents and stuff. So it could be a bad situation. So I think the sentiment among the task force is that, you know, when the weather gets warm, really warm, what's going to happen, so I'm hopeful that, and I think that in New York City, the deaths are going down. I think the curve is leveling, and hopefully so, because this might be problematic, I think, for law enforcement later, not having the clear guidelines.
And then just for clarification, I know the answer, but for the listening folks, you guys are enforcing these rules evenly across the board, not by any type of particular cultures or neighborhoods. Everyone is being everything is being enforced evenly. Is that correct, Sergeant?
Well, that's correct. I mean, obviously as a lawyer, and that's one of the things where these seminars that you spoke about, when I explain to people, no, this is not arbitrary. This is what the law is. This is those kind of. So I think that helps. But as you know, you can ever avoid cases here and there through social media, so different angles. There's always a spin to it. But I could tell you from law enforcement, every cop that I know, that's our job. That's our duty to enforce the law, evenly to everybody.
Absolutely. And you're doing 8-hour tours, if not more, at times. You're a sergeant, you're a supervisor, so you get driven around. I heard you teamed up with a great gentleman.
Yes.
Let's say yes. Please tell us a little bit about him. He gets you from point A to point B.
Well, Officer Paulino, great guy. He works at the licensing division, so very knowledgeable. And we click. He's very knowledgeable, and I found out he likes cigars too. So so we have a lot in common. So again, I'm enjoying the personnel. Everybody's great. The supervisors from the captain all the way down. It's a lot of fun. So I feel myself like wanting to wow, like today. It's only 12 o'clock. I can't wait. 5 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I start getting dressed, but because often when you have 23 years on the job, sometimes you kind of get that feeling, oh, do I want to go to work? But it's been fun for me, at least while we're in the street. So, and also I'm privileged to work. Obviously, if I go back to the police academy, which is a great police facility. So, I have no complaints whatsoever. I'm happy. I'm grateful for the department, for my career so far.
COVID-19 has also allowed you to go into the field in Brooklyn. I've seen some photos that you've continued to build bridges while you're out there, meeting up with our friend Mitch Weiss, who's doing an outstanding job. Right now, tell us a little about Mitch. And right now, he's giving out pizzas to every precinct in the city of New York.
Let me tell you, what a gesture. I mean, Mitch, every precinct, I think his goal is like 700, 600 plus 700 pieces. So every precinct, he was actually nice enough. And I said, Mitch, I'm working in Manhattan, COVID-19 task force. And he actually, I don't know how he gets it done, but I guess he's connected. So he actually did the delivery. And that was
awesome. A blessing. He's a blessing. Okay. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, I'll share this with you. The Veteran Police Association, the New York Veteran Police Association, Lou Tavano, president, and Rich Orstein, the vice president, got these to me. I don't know if you guys can see. And we're going to be delivering these tomorrow to people that are going back to work. A lot of folks are going to be going back to work, and they're going out with any PPEs. So not that this is going to cover you 100%, but look, the gesture, it helps. So thank you to Lou and Rich and the New York Veteran Police Association for getting that to us so we can get it to folks. And look, every little bit helps. I think, Sergeant, I know that you echo this, is we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this together. In the closing minutes that we have, please, the mic is yours.
Yeah, well, Clark, you mentioned the mask. Part of our duties when we went out into the park in those hot days, I think it was last weekend, we actually went out and we would approach people, and you get that reaction, and then we'll say, okay, you need some mask, and I think that was good, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, listen, I'm not here to just enforce. I have some masks available, and the department provided us some masks, and we will offer it to the people, whether in the train station. I just saw that other picture. I was a transit officer, so when I was tasked to I felt at home. I went to the platform. I said, wow, I brings me memories. And then we had to escort a couple of homeless people out. There was a particular guy at Stillwell Avenue, I think it was, or Avenue U. So a local, known to all the other cops there, but first time I met him. So, he had like a mask that was all, dirty, already built up. And I said, look, you want a mask? And so, sure. So he also, we gave him a couple of bucks for a cup of coffee. So those are the things, I mean, that I remember back in working in transit, because these are human beings, always take the time, yes, you want to, it is illegal to be outstretched. Remember, these are people that have perhaps all their belongings with them. So you have to be empathetic. You have to give them time. It's not like, listen, get out of here. And I think that brings the humanity. And that's what I enjoy, and it's been fun, like I said, and complying, voluntary compliance, that's the goal, verbal judo. And I think
verbal judo, mediation.
Yes.
And no one else teaches it and does it better than you, Sergeant.
Well, thank you, Clark. Thank you, Clark.
One thing I want to say is, I know that most folks retire and, Sarge, stick around, help other officers that are coming out of the academy. And, look, I'll handle it. I deal with so many elected officials. You have to come and continue to do the great work that you do as the world continues after this COVID-19. There's so many positions out there that you can fill in and really continue to deliver the great services. I see so many folks that retired. Chief Manuel de la Rosa.
Yes.
A wealth of information there.
Yes.
That is a walking encyclopedia. Dr.
You have Dr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Tony Cruz.
Well, Cruz just got picked up with the as an undersheriff.
I congratulated him.
And National, congratulations to him. And this is great experience. You have to stick around, Sergeant, one way or another. And you're still young. You don't have to leave. It's only 23 years.
If I retire, I will have more time to go into the community through the organization. So, it's a balancing thing,
Absolutely.
I have my teaching position, so I've been teaching
I know.
college. So let's see what happens.
Sarge. The time flies when you're having a great conversation with great people. Thank you so much. The president of the Global Alliance Hispanic Law Enforcement Professionals, Sergeant Sgt Nunez.
Thank you as always, Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Muchas gracias. Bendición.
Hasta luego.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Clark Pena for the Advocates Corner. Once again, let me send a special thanks to our friends in BronxNet. We've been going back and forth with this for a little bit, and I thought I couldn't be able to do this, but thanks to Daniel and the rest of the good folks at BronxNet, we're able to get the message out. So like always, whether I'm in the studio or I'm remotely, always reminding you, take care of yourself. But more importantly, let's take care of each other. Until next time.